Hello, how are you today? My name is Wambo Isila. Welcome to this week's series. We are doing a new series, Vulnerability and Authenticity. Now, we're going to do it in three parts. The first part, we're going to talk about generally what is vulnerability, what is authenticity, why is it that people will rather keep to themselves than be vulnerable or authentic. And the second thing is what are the kind of masks that people wear uh, so that they can escape being vulnerable and being authentic. And the next thing we're going to talk about is victimizers. What happens when how is it that we participate in preventing other people from being vulnerable and authentic? Now, let me start off with a simple definition of vulnerability and authenticity. Vulnerability is exposing oneself to possibility of attack or harm, physically or emotionally. In simple terms, when it comes to human beings, vulnerability is, speaking of yourself, personal issues, sharing your past, and so on. But also sometimes it can also be putting yourself in a position where somebody else knows that you have a weak position or that you've had a weak position before. What about authenticity? Genuineness, originality, in simple terms, being yourself, not pretentious, not a photocopy of someone else. And so, why is it that many people, over and over, you find it difficult to become vulnerable, for example? Fear of losing friendships. Maybe you've had this friendship going and you're afraid that if you begin to open up, especially in relationships, some people tend to think that, as long as the person doesn't know this, it won't hurt them. What about associations and peer pressure and society pressure? A lot of people would rather be, lean, walking the straight line. You don't want to deviate from whichever side. You don't want to be vulnerable. You don't want to be authentic, being yourself original, because you feel like society wants you to be in a certain way. So you keep things inside. What about leaders and maybe even pastors or firstborns? You're afraid of being undermined. You're afraid of, people thinking that you're not qualified for the position they have given you. You don't want anyone to know your weak points. What about pride? Having an unteachable, incorrectable attitude. Basically, you don't want anyone telling you anything. You are who you are and you are going where you're going. What about fear of negative reception? People making fun of you, people judging you. You don't want people to respond negatively to what you are saying about yourself. And this makes people even to be afraid of stepping out. You want to start something new, but you're afraid people are going to judge or people are going to trash. There's a lot of that going around online, and people have many fears. Also, the fear of being taken advantage of. Someone is afraid that if they open up to you, you're going to take advantage of them. Or if they tell you what their vision is, something authentic, something original, they're going to take that, you're going to open that business they told you about, and you're going to go ahead of them and do that. What about feeling that, uko in charge and you don't need anybody's help or you don't need any contribution from somebody? That can keep you from being vulnerable. Sometimes we are also victimizers. Why? We don't want to be burdened. Maybe you've had a long day. You don't want someone telling you new stuff which is burdensome and it requires a lot of thinking. Number two, impatience and maybe not caring. You don't want people to trouble you. You want to take care of yourself, think about yourself and nobody else. Stereotypes. A lot of men grow up being told, man up, man up, men don't cry, men don't break down, men take charge and all that stuff. So that makes you, when you find a man, especially women, you ukipata mwanaume mwenye, akona emotions, uko like, history hapana, you go man up. What about triggers? Sometimes we've gone through a lot of stuff and we don't want anyone reminding us. So if you hear someone starting a story that sounds like something you've gone through, you're like, no, not again. I'm not going through this again. And these are some of the reasons why we can shut people down or prevent them from being vulnerable or authentic. Now, What are some of the masks that people wear to cope with vulnerability issues, to escape being vulnerable or authentic? Number one, obsession with achievement. You don't want, perhaps you have a lot of issues going on with you, but you just want to cover them up. You want to cover them up with achievements and all that. So you find yourself, you're always looking for something extra to prove yourself, to prove a point, to show out to the world, or even just to yourself. Violence, abuse, aggressive nature. I'm sure you've seen people who they have issues inside. Maybe it's bitterness or anger or, child abuse. You went through that, and instead of resolving it, instead of opening up and talking about it and seeking professional help, you would rather um, project whatever you're feeling inside. So you end up being abusive and aggressive for no good reason. I don't know if you've met people who are always fighting other people in public or even in the bar or somewhere out of nothing. People who are talkative but saying nothing real and nothing personal. Try ukijaribu kugusa huyo mtu akwambie kitu personal, they change the topic immediately. They want to talk, but they don't want you to touch their personal lives. What about the social media life? I'm sure you've seen that. You're always, if you're caught up in, they're always posting smiling photos of where you've been, even if you are just passing by that place. You want us to feel or to see that you are living the life, and yet there are so many other issues going on with you, but you want to use that to keep yourself going, to keep encouraging yourself that I am going and I am living the life. Silence or passiveness, not in touch with reality, you're kind of floating in life. A lot of people do this.